Hello everyone, my name is Emily Felsky and I'm a senior Viterbo nurse. I am originally from Michigan but moved out to Wisconsin for my nursing education. My senior capstone experience was originally supposed to be at Aspirus Riverview Hospital in Wisconsin Rapids. I live in Wisconsin Rapids and work at the hospital currently as a certified nursing assistant. I thought having my capstone experience here would be a great thing so I could gain my senior nursing experience and also have experience working there as a nurse already before applying for a full-time position upon graduation. This year was a little different for all of us as our capstone experiences soon would be canceled in person due to the coronavirus and switched over to ATI doing virtual simulations. I was a little leery for this because I felt like I would not gain the knowledge and skills through a virtual simulation versus if I was in the hospital setting with hands-on experiences as a nurse. This was a transition for me coming to terms that my capstone would be online. I talked with my family and nurses at the hospital, and to be honest, I really was not excited about the new transition for my capstone experience. I felt like the skills you learned as a senior in your capstone experience are vital to helping with the NCLEX upon graduation and passing that. I also transitioned and took everything I had learned from previous nursing classes and clinicals and applied that to every situation I encountered for my capstone virtual simulations. Like I said before, my initial impression of the capstone experience, once I learned it was going to be online, was that I wasn't all that excited. And who wouldn't be? I mean, all my other friends were also not excited that they weren't going to get that hands-on experience. I was super excited to finally be acting like the patients I was going to see throughout the day were my real patients with my hands-on experience. I had the impression that the nurse I was going to be with was going to let me do most of the task and just be there for guidance when I needed it or was going to do something wrong. It was finally sinking in that in less than 3 months I would be graduated, taking my boards, and then hopefully by June I would be practicing as a new nurse. This was also exciting. When I got back from spring break and emails were coming out that everything was switching to online, like I said, I was less than excited. I just could not understand how you could gain your experience through these online simulations. I mean, if you answer questions wrong on the scenario, you can just start all over. In real life, you don't get start-overs. You enter your patient's room, you give them their medication, you perform their tasks. If the medication's wrong, you can't just walk out, go grab a new medication, come into the room, and act like everything's fine. So that's where I felt like the virtual simulation and hands-on experience was a little different and was going to be hard to adjust to. The preparation sheets were helpful in helping remember certain medications that I learned years ago and also remembering the patho and phys behind certain diseases. Some of the professional values that I had to carry over into this experience, and I wanted to make a good impression at the hospital and a good impression for Viterbo. I brought autonomy, respect, reliability, confidence, and trust with me through this experience. These are all values I hold close to my heart because your coworkers and other staff have to trust you and your patients have to trust you as well so you can get the job done and be reliable behind it. In my first journal, I wrote a goal that I hoped to attain by the end of my capstone experience. This goal was that I would perform all the tasks on my patient by myself and in confidence. I said that this could be achieved by asking questions if I was unsure how to complete a task and reflecting on my knowledge that I have gained throughout my clinical and classroom experience. This goal was achieved by the end of my capstone experience. In the virtual simulations, I was solely the nurse responsible for my patients, and I was able to complete assessments on my patient, and I felt comfortable doing it by myself. I felt like if I wasn't quite sure of something, I was able to ask questions. There was one situation where I was unsure how to calculate a certain medication, and then the charge nurse went through the steps with me and helped me figure out where I went wrong in my own situation. This is something I'll carry with me through my nursing experience, and if I have a question, I'm going to ask other nurses, so I'm not putting my patient in harm. One barrier I would say that had slowed the completion of meeting this goal would be that some of the scenarios didn't have a spot for you to ask questions. If you got something wrong, you would go with the charge nurse and you would go through what you went wrong, but you couldn't ask a question as if in real life you were unsure how to do something. I was still able to listen to the patient in the scenario and refer to the electronic medical records to determine what might have been going wrong with them, but there weren't too many full, complete assessments, but rather focused assessments on the patient. And in real life, you're not going to do a complete assessment. If something's happening quick, you're going to focus on a focused assessment. So I could see where this is like a real life experience. Some of the barriers for completing my goals and strengths were just simply having your capstone experience online. It was hard to ask the questions that may have been going through my mind, like I said, because there wasn't a spot to type in your question. Some of the emotions that I had from transitioning from a student nurse to a professional nurse that were my patients are solely relying on me to be responsible for what happens to them. Before, as a student nurse, you had somebody there looking over your every move and making sure you were doing it right. As this experience was completed, there's not going to be someone constantly watching over your shoulder. You're going to be practicing, and you have to be a professional nurse and know what you're doing, because at the end of the day, your patients rely on you and they're in your hands. If you do something wrong, it's going to come back and land on you. I know that I would never want to do something to harm them because I was unsure or took careless actions. That's not something I want to do. I'm going to always triple check my medications, and then having professional values is very important and things that I need to carry with me on a daily basis. These values are good to have at times when things are not going good. You can remember what values you hold close to your heart and help think and get through the day. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.